Singing in the rain, the reviews are in for the opening ceremony of the Paris 2024 Olympics. Will decode a pageantry unafraid to brave the elements and to court controversy. Careful, it's still slippery out there as the games begin in earnest. Leo McGuinn will be along to preview what's ahead. And make way for beach volleyball at the foot of the Eiffel Tower. We'll tell you why this sport has become an Olympic mainstay. Hello everyone, I'm François Picard in the company over the next fortnight of Daily Beast contributing editor Craig Capidis. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Welcome to your daily dose of inside stories from Paris 2024. First, let's look back at that opening ceremony. Breathless, that's the front page of local tabloid Le Parisien. Sports daily L'Équipe plays on the interpretation of Juliette, the interpretation of, I've forgotten her name already, Juliette Armanet. She played John Lennon's Imagine while the piano went up in flames. Just one of the touches in a flamboyant opening ceremony that the press, in its trademark Gallic modesty, hailed as incredible. If you wanted critics, all you had to do at this point was then to cross the channel where top-selling tabloid The Daily Mail pulled no punches in highlighting the sabotage train lines that disrupted opening day travel and the weather, with the paper's staff writer ruling that organizers forgot, quote, to inform Zeus, the deity who controls the elements. It was taking a risk, Craig Capidis, first time ever that opening games were not in a stadium.
Flamboyant doesn't get anywhere near what it was. It was bombastic, swashbuckling, very camp, and certainly not fit for British consumption. You know, one of the things about being friends, we've been with the Brits in the trenches, 2 world wars, is honesty. Got to be honest. And the Brits, as usual, are clueless.
Clueless?
Clueless about how the games operate. You know, they've been so far loud and ignorant, and they don't understand France. And if there was one problem with last night's opening ceremony, it was the commentators from around the world did not explain the metaphorical importance and historical importance of what was taking place on the river.
That happened with a lot of broadcasters around the world. More foreign reaction first, though, from the streets of Paris themselves. This was Friday evening. The foreign visitors, yes, they have come to Paris, and we've gotten a rain-soaked thumbs up to the kickoff of the Olympic fortnight.
It was actually even better with the rain because it created like an ambiance. It was really unbelievable and we loved it.
It was the whole city all together, so it was amazing just to see everything come down the river.
It was not like just a stadium, it was actually a whole city, and I think it's pretty precious.
It was something that for sure we're not going to see in many years, like be able to do this type of event in the middle of the city. It was just beautiful. Paris is the type of city that even the rain could not stop an event like this. People are resilient, people still come, people still enjoy.
I think we like the finale. This was like a big crescendo with the flame and the final song from Celine Dion. Yeah. Very emotional, beautiful, very beautiful.
Well, it's definitely not a sprint. It's a marathon for roving reporter Selena Sykes throughout these games. First day of competitions. But first, Selena, have your clothes dried?
Not at all, François, because as you can potentially see, it's still been raining all day. We're hoping for the rain to stop tomorrow. We've obviously already seen a few events affected by the rain, such as skateboard that we were supposed to see this morning, postponed till Monday. The tennis also affected, so still staying wet for now, François.
And listening to those people who were at the ceremony, you were covering it live. What was your feeling during the ceremony?
I think for most people, the rain really didn't matter in the end, François. A lot of people obviously saying on the upper banks of the River Seine, it was quite difficult at times to see for some people if they weren't next to a big screen. But the overall message I got was that people were just very, very happy to be there and witness a piece of history, because, as you said, that's what happened last night, the first time an opening ceremony taking place outside of a stadium. Tourists very happy to see Paris in all its splendour. And I think for a lot of people, it didn't really matter that it was raining. We did have, I have to say, see see a fair few people leave as the torrential rain continued throughout the evening. Some people deciding to not stick it through to nearly the 4 hours that the opening ceremony obviously lasted. Some people deciding to watch the rest in bars or cafes nearby. But I think for the vast majority, it really didn't matter that it was chucking down with rain.
All right, you heard earlier, Selena, Craig Capitas grumbling that not enough was done to explain what was going on the river. So let's dive into it, so to speak. Theatrics is not an Olympic sport, but organizers of last night's ceremony certainly grabbed the world's attention with a sometimes elegant, sometimes bolshy side, like with the singing head of Marie Antoinette peering out from the conciergerie, where she was held before she was guillotined in 1794, a head which sang the revolutionary ditty "Ah ça ira." That was one of the first, I guess you could call it, acts of provocation that we saw during this ceremony. Then there was Anna Nakamura, the Franco-Malian pop superstar, who's been a target in this country from France's far right ever since her name was associated months ago with the opening ceremonies. Her medley included the Republican Guard marching band, meeting her on the bridge that separates the Louvre from the Académie Française on the left bank. And Craig Capitas, there was a lot of irreverence in that opening ceremony.
There was also a lot of very moving metaphorical events, and Anna Nakamura's, for me, was the highlight of the evening. And it was a crime that not even the French commentators actually went into why this was so important. First of all, most of our English-speaking audience probably has little idea who she is. She is the Madonna, the biggest pop star there is in the French-speaking world. She is huge, and she's a wonderful singer. And what they did last night with her, which should have been explained, is she walked out of the Académie Française. And as you said at the time, only popes and presidents are allowed out that door.
The front gate.
Yeah, the Académie Française is the arbiter of the French language. And the critics of Nakamura say she corrupts the French language because she sings in Verlan, the Verlan that tens of millions of young French speakers.
Yeah, hip-hop slang.
Yeah, pop slang, which she uses. Then what does she do? She dances across. And who is there playing the music but the arbiter of conservative, right-wing France, the band of the Republican Guard. And they're playing her songs. And then all of a sudden, what do?
I don't know if it's right-wing France. I mean, they're above the fray,
well, you heard what Marine Le Pen and all of her pals were complaining about the use of the Republican Guard. As far as the right wing in this country is concerned, the Republican Guard is their personal Praetorian Guard. You could look it up. So what did they do? They marched towards her and they started dancing. They performed a protective ring around her, if you noticed. And the Republican Guard started dancing like an American collegiate marching band. It was terrific. They had smiles on their faces. And what did Anna Nakamura do at the end of her program? Her and her 6 dancers, who I'm told also play for your rugby team, saluted the national band, the Republican Guard.
We could show after the performance.
That was amazing.
This was posted to TikTok. Aya Nakamura posing with the Garde Républicaine. Maybe we can show a clip of that afterwards. And she got, as you'll see, quite the ovation. And you're saying that was a Muhammad Ali moment?
Absolutely.
A Muhammad Ali who in 1996 lit the cauldron in Atlanta while suffering already from Parkinson's disease.
And who had been an outcast in the United States for many years for his anti-war activities. It was a moving moment. And last night, I mean, Anna Nakamura is certainly no Ali, but what she did last night, if you are French, was remarkable. And the fact that the Académie Française and the Republican Guard went along with this. They didn't have to, really shows you that you don't mess with freedom of expression in France. And in the United States, this was not explained to their audience. NBC has 2,800 people here. No one explained that.
You've been rubbing elbows with the officials from all the different countries, with the International Olympic Committee. The irreverence of having Marie Antoinette's head singing of some of what we'll get into in a moment. How does that go down with the bigwigs who organized the Olympics?
Well, the Brits didn't like it, obviously, because they still have royals. I happen to know that the Saudis didn't like it. The Omanis didn't like it. If you had a royal family and you were broadcasting the opening ceremony in your country last night, this was really not a good look. They were very
Leo
angry.
McGuinn is with us, who's going to be telling us about today's events. As a subject of His Royal Majesty, what did you think at that moment?
I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. Look, I thought it was brilliant, and it showcased. There wasn't enough of France's history showcased last night for me, and I thought it was a great moment showcasing a really important moment in France's history.
Finally, there was a fashion show at one point, a catwalk on one of the bridges that had been set up for the opening ceremony, included a reenactment of the Last Supper in drag. At its center, the kitschy, eccentric French pop star Philippe Catherine, dressed as Dionysus and lip-syncing his latest single. There you see him in the bottom of your screen there. He was all dressed in blue. Some people thought he looked like a Smurf. They didn't understand what it was. That was the final straw, by the way, for far-right politician Marion Maréchal, who tweeted in English that to all Christians of the world who are watching and felt insulted by this drag queen parody of the Last Supper, know that it is not France that is speaking, but a left-wing minority ready for any provocation. Well, it just so happens that we caught up with Philippe Catherine earlier this Saturday. He feigned surprise at the controversy when asked by France 24's Ludovic Foucault.
Yeah, but it's normal. When you put on such a powerful show, it's normal that some people don't like it. That's the name of the game. Or otherwise you do something that's very consensual, which actually doesn't exist because there are always people who are unhappy. It's normal, and that's what makes it funny. It would be a whole other dictatorship, another fascism to imagine everyone agreeing on something. How boring.
Selita Sykes, with the crowds at, you were where? Pont de l'Alma, right? Sort of 2/3 of the way along the procession. The foreigners just kind of take it in stride, all of this, or were some offended?
I didn't hear anyone being particularly offended. It might have caused a bit of confusion, but as you said, obviously a lot of references last night being lost, I think, on foreign audiences. But I think a lot of them were just very happy to be in Paris and here for the Olympics. This is obviously one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful city in the world. And that's mainly what I was hearing from tourists last night. We're just so happy to see Paris really in its element. And I think some of the references being lost on people might have confused people at times, but I think on the whole, foreign tourists, they're definitely just happy to see the Parisian landscape. Obviously, we saw the flame being carried on the rooftops of Paris, Paris fashion, joie de vivre being portrayed last night. Those are the kind of references I think that foreign audiences were able to get, but maybe some of the more subtle references were lost on a lot of people, yes.
The French basically said, this is our show and we're going to do it for us. And it got huge ratings here, by the way. 23 million viewers. So, Craig Capitas, is that normal? Because you're hosting the world, but to have basically all these cultural references that nobody else gets.
Well, they didn't do a good job of explaining it. Again, the broadcasters, but as a very close friend of mine said last night, this show was directed by someone from the left bank of Paris. This was the sensibility that we saw last night.
Is that normal? Does that happen at other Olympics?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if they had brought in the Le Pen crowd, we would have seen barges of cheap wine coming up the Seine from Bourgogne. It's a wild celebration. And for young people, this was wonderful. I talked to my two kids who are French real French as opposed to my passport French, you know, they have DNA French. They both said what you saw here was the TikTok Olympic opening ceremony. It's for the next generation. And they loved it. And the young people who watched it in America, who they sat with, they loved it. And my kids said they had to sit there and explain.
Well, they loved it because they had someone to explain it.
Yeah, they understood it. And
it wasn't, by the way, all French performers. Lady Gaga sang before an epic finale at the end from the Eiffel Tower by none other than Céline Dion. This is the headline in one of the Montreal newspapers this Saturday. Céline steals the show, her first public performance in 4 years. A rendition of Edith Piaf's L'Hymne à l'amour that gave goose pimples to audiences the world over. The Céline Dion performance at the very end was rousing. There was one final touch, the torch relay, with a pantheon of French sporting greats. They include the likes of Tony Parker, the basketball star, the oldest, born in 1924. There you see him in the wheelchair, the flame lit by French track legend Marie-Josée Pérec, and three-time Olympic judo champion Teddy Riner. Of course, Teddy Riner, Selena Sykes, he's not a legend who's retired. He's going for gold again at these games.
That's right, Francois. Obviously, Teddy Riner, a three-time gold medalist in judo, so far for France, but he has unfinished business here in Paris. He won 2 of individual golds back in London and in Rio, but he had to settle for bronze 3 years ago at Tokyo. So the big aim for him this time round was to get that third historic individual gold in his judo category here in Paris. And obviously, he's got a bit of time to recover from what was obviously a magical moment for him last night, one of the last 2 torchbearers at that opening ceremony. He will be competing, if I remember correctly, next Friday. He will be competing next Friday in his first judo event in the plus 100 kilo category for Teddy Riner. And obviously, judo, Francois, is one of the most successful sports, if not the most successful sport for the French. In fact, in Tokyo 3 years ago, they won a record 8 medals. That was the most medals for a sport at Tokyo for the French. And they have the bar set even higher this time, Francois, because the aim from the judo French Federation for Judo is 10 medals this time in Paris.
And the atmosphere was great this Saturday morning.
The atmosphere was great in the judo?
Yes.
In the judo, yeah, we just actually saw France's first medal here at the arena for the judo at the Champ de Mars. We saw Chirine Boucli win the first medal for France in the bronze in her category, the under 48 kilo category for the French. An absolutely amazing atmosphere every time there was a French judoka here in this afternoon. Absolutely incredible scenes. Lots of people cheering the French judokas on. A very amazing atmosphere here for the French. You can definitely see that there is a big advantage competing on your home turf.
Selena Sykes, we'll let you go because I know you still have swimming ahead this Saturday. Thanks so much for joining us live in this edition. We turn to Leo McGuinn. See that the French have opened their account, the hosts opening their account. I mean, that's, I don't want to be too much of a homer, but that's kind of what happens. Judo, but of course, there's lots of other events happening. It's the first full day of events, and you forget just how overwhelming it is. First of all, you need your remote control to keep. You've
got to be everywhere to keep track of all of it. Is really impossible. Yeah.
So the big event is swimming, and the French have high hopes for Léon Marchand, who's been turning heads, but there's an American who could make history at these games.
Yeah, Katie Ledecky. When we talk about the pantheon of greats, of Olympic greats, we obviously talk about Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt, but Katie Ledecky has to be in there tonight, and she really is the most dominant female swimmer of the last 10, 20 years, and she could become the most dominant Olympian female swimmer of all time at these games. She's got 7 Olympic golds already. Nine is the all-time record by any woman in any sport. So if she was to win at 3 of her 4 events at this Olympics, she'd become the greatest female Olympian of all time, and that is a realistic target for her. It's hard to see her being beaten in the 800 metres. In fact, the last time someone not named Ledecky won the 800 metres female was in Beijing in 2008. So that shows how dominant she's been.
And she's only, what, 27?
She's 27 years old. It really is incredible because she started so young in London 2012. It feels like she's been around forever, but she is only 27. In the 1500 and 800s, it's hard to see her being beaten. The 400 metres is a different question. It promised to be a stunning three-way battle tonight, just before 9 p.m. between Ledecky, Canada's Summer McIntosh, and Australia's Ariane Titmus. All three have held the record, the world record, in the last 27 months. It shows that it's kind of gone back and forth between them, and many have billed this one as a potential race of the century. One expert says that it will probably need a world record to win tonight. And when it comes to form, Ledecky probably not the favourite in the 400 metres, but you certainly can't write her off. She is an Olympic great, and she could add to that tonight. And
Leo, it's not just swimming, of course, on this first full day of competitions. We had a few preliminary rounds in some of the team sports before, but you really feel it again. Today is the day. We're in it now.
Today's the day. We go from the judo to handball to swimming. We're all over the place, and it's brilliant, is it, when you get fully into the Olympic spirit. And France are playing a few really important games tonight, none more so. I know you were at the opening day of the Rugby Sevens, and France will be playing in that final in just under 2 hours' time. They'll be playing against Fiji. They'll have their work cut out. Fiji have won the 2 Olympic golds so far, 2016, 2021. They'll be looking for a three-peat. France, of course, have Antoine Dupont, desperate for an Olympic medal, and they beat South Africa fairly comfortably in the semi-final. So they'll be hopeful that they can claim that gold. France are playing football tonight as well. A lot of team sports going on. They're playing basketball at the moment. They'll play Guinea in the football tonight in Nice. And to round it off, a huge clash in the handball. As an Englishman, I don't know a huge amount about handball, but France playing Denmark. Between them, they've won the last 4 Olympic golds, 3 for France, 1 for Denmark. So that's going to be a clash of the titans tonight as well.
Yeah, we didn't see many handballers on those barges on the scene. I think they were preparing.
We didn't, not enough.
When is the French rugby sevens coach going to take you off of injured reserve, Francois?
Well,
this is a question we've been trying to answer.
My phone is open, but I just haven't gotten the call yet.
They're missing you. That's the missing piece for me.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
for sure.
I won't let you off the hook so easily. Okay. Leo McGuinn, a prediction for USA-Serbia in men's basketball.
It's hard to look past the dream team. That side is ridiculously stacked. And obviously, look, Serbia have an incredible side, and they've got Nikola Jokic, but I've got to go USA.
All right. Many thanks, Leo McGuinn, who has, as you can hear, his work cut out. We talk about all this, we talk about all the sports that have already begun. The Olympics has its premium events. It's swimming the first week. It's athletics the second. And it's also got, no disrespect, those sports that most of us only watch every 4 years. And every day before we sign off on this show, we'll preview one of them. To the untrained eye, it feels like beach volleyball is a relative newcomer. But it's been around, Craig Capitas, since 1996. This isn't regular volleyball, as you can see. It's beach volleyball.
Yeah, it's been around since 96, and it became popular when the first 2 gold medalists, who were Brazilian women, Sandra Pires and Jackie Silva, took the gold in Atlanta. And I was talking to Jackie a few days ago, and I asked her, why has beach volleyball exploded? And she said, well, when they were out on the sand playing, getting all these cheers, they thought it was for their athleticism. And then after they won, they were about to go, she says, to go and put on their uniforms. And the Olympic officials and the beach volleyball officials said, no, go to the podium in your bikinis. And she said, that was the point where we understood that the audience likes a little, quote, sexiness to their sports.
But 1996 this was, which when it comes to things like, they've been very proud, the Paris organizers, of the fact that this is the first games where you have gender parity in terms of numbers of athletes competing. When it comes to beach volleyball, is it the same issue when it comes to the men?
I'm told by volleyball officials who will not go on the record, the interest, the sexual interest, the sexy, as they say, interest in men's beach volleyball for women goes a little further south around the Europe.
Yeah, and just on this, it's one of the rest of the year we follow volleyball. The French won the gold medal in Tokyo, so the men's volleyball. But beach volleyball, it's not something that's followed the rest of the time.
Well, it's going to be followed now because what they have is the most iconic, a word I hate to use, spot perhaps in history for their game, right underneath the friggin' Eiffel Tower. And this is really exciting. It's the most difficult ticket to get, according to the ticket people. The 200,000 sponsors, the guests of the sponsors are coming in. There's 200,000 of them. I'm told every one of them wants a ticket to the beach volleyball. The sand is a special sand that they bring in. It's sifted. There's over 200 tons of it. And,
if there's one takeaway from today, and Leo McGuinn, we saw it when we were watching the women and men's individual time trial in cycling in the rain. They were cycling in Paris, and to have the city of Paris with, at one point you had this shot of Les Invalides where Napoleon is buried in the background as they turn the corner, the time trialers. You see that's what's going to make these games different.
For sure, and you look at Versailles, with the equestrian as well, and the kind of areas that you're seeing used in Paris. I mean, Paris is the most iconic city in the world, and they need to lean into that, and they have lent into that, and that's what they need to do. And you get to see these amazing, stunning backdrops throughout the games, and that's one of the drawing points for France, for Paris.
You'll be back in 90 minutes time.
I'll be back in 90 minutes
full
time.
Sporting update. Many thanks, Leo McGuinn. I want to thank Craig Capitas. Do join us again on Sunday for another edition of Destination Paris.
unless you're called up for rugby.
Unless I'm called up for rugby.
Hello, I'm